What up, my fellow soy boys? It's Comrade Foxy here, and I've arisen from my long-ass slumber to give you a small video responding to a 2019 video by Jeffrey Marr titled, "What is Communism, and why does it always fail?" First off, I would like to apologise for my absence, but unfortunately for me and my one subscriber, I'm still alive. Now, without further ado, let's get right into this.
Hello, RTube. Today, we're going to be learning about one of the most controversial political philosophies, communism, what it is, and how we can make it work if we try it properly for once. What is communism? Communism is a political ideology that, in a nutshell, looks to remove money and private ownership and distribute every.
Well, that's not the best definition of communism. Communism is a classless, stateless and moneyless society where the workers have common ownership of the means of production, distribution and exchange. Communist society also functions off the philosophy of, from each according to their ability, from each according to their needs.
Everything among the people. This is not to be confused with socialism that gives everyone equal share in profit and prosperity. Socialism is what's been attempted before. Communism.
This is correct. Socialism has been tried, but communism has yet to have been tried. However, his definition of socialism is below basic. I can understand that it's difficult to condense the whole political theory of socialism and communism in a short 6-minute video, but still. Socialism is a society where the workers have common ownership of the means of production, distribution and exchange. Society is run by a dictatorship of the proletariat, which is a form of government where the workers have full control of the state and its functionaries.
Has not. Socialism is sort of the bridge between capitalism and full-blown communism. In a communist society, everyone works and everyone is provided for equally. If you're struggling, your fellow man is there to help you out. If you're able to work more, you do. The goal is to take the power away from those who own the means of productions and don't do any work, the bourgeoisie, and place it in the hands of the workers, the proletariat. The thought is that those who own the means of production are the oppressors who get most of the profit from that production, but they don't have to work, and they only profit because they own the facilities or machines, whereas the people who are actually working on the production are paid as little as possible to sustain them. In communism, this is flipped upside down, and the workers are provided the means of production, with the rewards being provided to everyone much more evenly. What does the ideal communist world look like? So in an ideal communist world, the worker, or the proletariat, will take the means of production from those who have the means, the bourgeoisie, and we will have a society where people do what they can and take what they need. In an ideal communist world, we are all one big tribe.
For those who have a somewhat decent understanding of Marxism, you can understand why the author should have made this video more complex. I personally think that the author should have made this video longer and have more research put into it, specifically featuring more information from Marx's literature, such as Lenin's works and the man himself, Karl Marx's works.
Looking out for one another. No one is greedy and no one takes everything for themselves. The good thing is though, with the current abilities of production, we would be able to create a world where people don't actually have to work that much. And instead of shunning this, we should call it freedom, and give people the freedom to pursue whatever.
This is a very good argument for automation under a socialist society. Obviously, we are going to need workers, like people to actually fix the machines, but unlike capitalism, we won't need to let go thousands of workers because it's cheaper to use robots. We could reduce working hours so the workers can follow their passions and be with their families more.
Whatever they find fulfilling. This is the communist vision. Karl Marx lays out that when capitalism is overthrown, there's a transitional period where most lands are transferred to the state. There's still an income disparity, but that disparity goes to the government in the form of massive taxes.
Well, that was made up. It doesn't really help that he hasn't included any sources either, so that doesn't make my job any easier. Although, Marx does make a critique of inequality after the dictatorship of the proletariat, in his book, Critique of the Gotha Programme. But that is too long to cover in this video, but for the sake of argument, I will give a short summary. In short, Marx said there'd be an obvious inequality due to the fact that people have, well, different abilities, skills, and circumstances. He also goes on to claim that in a communist society, there would be no need for remuneration based on labour, and goods would be distributed according to people's needs.
where it will then be doled out to help reduce income inequality. Credit, communication, and transport will be centralized by the state, which is designed to mean individual enterprises won't have a chance to steer the economy as big banks and big cell phone monopolies do today. Abolition of the right of inheritance means that when you die, you can't pass along everything you own to your kin.
Karl Marx saw inheritance as a way capitalists can perpetuate and consolidate their socio-economic status for the next generation. Just to clarify what Marx thought, that is not to say we should take away all inheritance like personal property like clothes or a couch, just those of private property like factories, large sums of money, which in a communist society we wouldn't really have.
This helps to make it so everyone is born with equal chance of opportunity, and it's also healthier to have the wealth be redistributed after someone's death than during their life. There are many forms of communism: Leninism, Maoism, Stalinism.
Stalinism is not real ideology. What people call Stalinism is actually Marxist-Leninism, which Lenin was also a supporter of. Stalinism is just a buzzword used by anti-communist and left-wing anti-Soviet figures to attack the Soviet Union.
Trotskyism, but they are all variations of Marxism as explained in the Communist Manifesto. In the manifesto, authors Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels try to highlight that in order for communism to be successful, capitalism has to reach its peak. In providing the proletariat the means to centralize, communicate, and traverse fast and effective enough to overthrow the bourgeoisie. Why hasn't this worked? Communism hasn't been attempted in its pure form. Instead, we've only seen attempts at socialism. One of the main reasons communism has failed is because every time it's been attempted, it hasn't been at the peak of capitalism, which is what's required.
Marx believed that the next stage from capitalism would be socialism, and socialism would be used as a transitional period towards communism. Basically, Marx argued that capitalist societies would undergo certain changes of development, including the rise of the bourgeoisie, the capitalist class, and the proletarianization of the working class. They predicted that capitalism would eventually lead to its own downfall due to internal contradictions and class struggles, like what happened during the transition from feudalism towards a capitalist mode of production.
According to Marx, another reason it's failed in the past is simply corruption. In theory, you take what you need and you do what you can. That's great. But the people who are in charge of distributing what you need are people too. And given power, people are...
Oh, bloody hell. There's not one dude deciding who or who doesn't get bread. It is done collectively with the idea of, from each according to their ability, from each according to their needs.
are corrupt. In communist societies, the one place of centralization...
In communism, there isn't one central government. There is a legislative organ in society, however that legislative organ is a collective of worker unions. Instead of one single party appointing fellow members into positions, we have a decentralized system where those of aforementioned unions make collective decisions for the benefit of mankind and their respective areas they represent.
is the government. Leaving the government in charge of controlling everything is always a bad call. There are certain things like fire departments and police forces that shouldn't be for profit, where a fire won't be put out unless it's profitable to the fire departments. But if you're putting your bread production in the hands of the government, what you get is a really inefficient process. This is because most things in government are run on bureaucracy, which doesn't remind anyone of efficiency or effectiveness. So the better game plan is to just leave bread making to the baker, who has an incentive to make it efficient and easy for you, because if he buys bread, he can feed his family.
The entire argument against communism from an economical perspective is that communism has no competition and thus no incentive to innovate and make product as best as possible. However, this is untrue. Socialist societies have made massive strides in innovation in both scientific and the fields of leisure, and those said advancements won a competition to be accepted into production. In short, you don't need private ownership to be effective. I argue that private ownership is more unreliable. As soon as a company deems it unprofitable, they close it down, they ruin the lives of its workers, and in cases of small areas, destroy local economies.
But can communism work if it's done properly? What if we have a society that properly overthrows the bourgeoisie and redistributes the wealth properly, takes away land and titles and money, and we have a world that finally looks like the communist utopia we were promised?
Communism isn't utopian. Marx and Engels actually fought against such notions. Just look at Engels' book, Socialism, Utopian and Scientific.
Where everyone has what they need and they do what work they can. Can this work? It all comes down to human nature.
Well, here it is. The most basic and easily disprovable argument. Humans are shaped by their material conditions, and when those conditions are changed, those humans adapt. A thief who stole bread wasn't born a thief, they did it out of necessity. Just look at how most primitive societies functioned. They functioned off a very primitive form of communism.
In marketing, there are certain few biological drives that are used to get people to pay attention and need to buy your product. One of those biological drives are to be superior, winning, keeping up with the Joneses. We have a biological urge to be better than our neighbors. In communism, the goal is to care about your fellow man. But your biology is built to recognize hierarchies. Your genetics say you need to climb to the top. You need to gather resources so you can take care of your family or have more.
Well, what is stopping humans from benefiting society? If society benefits, then likely our families will benefit as well.
Opportunities to find a mate. Although we like to think of ourselves as advanced creatures, research has shown we're only able to support about 150 relationships. We don't care about the millions of people in our country who we will never speak to or see. Why should you work hard to support someone else? It doesn't sound fair and it doesn't make sense. Likewise in the government.
Well, why do we pay taxes for universal healthcare? Because when we need it, not only our taxes, but those of others will take care of us. In short, we do it for them, they do it for us. Even if we don't know them, we are still having a consensual transaction.
You have access to all this money and you're supposed to dole it out evenly. But most of the people you aren't ever going to meet or see. But your family, your friends, they could benefit if they get just a little bit more. We won't ever see communism succeed. Because in my opinion, you can't have a political ideology that goes against
Human nature isn't a set thing, it is constantly changing.
Human nature. If humans are inherently greedy, how can we build a world where greed is harnessed to benefit others? This is just one person's opinion, and it's not an open and shut case. But as far as the world has seen, communism and socialism haven't been successful. Although there are many aspects of socialism that help keep capitalism balanced, it's not all just black and white. Now I'd like to hear your opinion in the comments. Do you think that communism can ever work? Let me know. And also make sure to check out some of our other videos for more philosophical or political ideas.
Well, that's it. That's the video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all enjoy the many changes I've done to this channel. Remember to check out our other channel and its Discord, TikTok and website. And with all that out of the way, I see you all in the next video.